Welcome back to another Short Legacy Vintage Saturday, where we have Esper Lurrus versus Oathentail.
If you've been enjoying our content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below.
A huge thank you to the Patreon supporters who are helping the league and YouTube channel. If you would like to become a supporter, please click on the link in the show. Welcome to Game 1 with Andres keeping 6 on the play and Andrew keeping 7. We've seen Andres' deck before at Eternal Weekend, running 4 Dark Confidants, 4 Orcish Bowmasters, a Snapcaster Mage, and a bunch of one-ofs, including the Ancestral Recall, Brainstorm, Mental Misstep, Spell Pierce, ×2, 1 Swords Posture, 1 Drown the Lock, 4 Force Negations, 4 Force of Wills, Get Pro, Ponder, Demonic Tutor, Time Walk, 4 Luring Revealeds, and the Mox Suite, along with Sensei's Top, Skull Clamp, Soul Ring, and then the dreaded Seal of Cleansing to take out a bunch of different artifacts and or enchantments is able to buy back with the Lurrus. So it's a pretty strong deck. And then we've also seen Oathentail in the hands of Justin Gennari before, as well as other players, including Bosch and Roll, playing this deck very well. So it should be an interesting matchup for both Andres and Andrew. Andres is a little bit more controlly. Andrew is a little bit more explosive. See a Demonic Tutor from Andrew picking up Oath of Druids, and pass back over to Andres. See if Andres wants to try and get this Bob out, and then also Time Walk, and see if he can pull ahead a little bit with some counter magic. But that will be something to be seen here. So looks like the Bob's not going to resolve with a Forcible coming from Andrew. Andrew also playing the 4 Force of Will suite with 1 Force Negation, 2 Flusterstorms, as well as 4 Show and Tells, Tinker, Time Walk, as well as the Mox suite as well, Mana Crypt, and he does play the Tinker with the Bola Citadel package as well in his deck. So, yeah. I wish I was better at commentating on this so I could actually give some great feedback or whatever, or really good commentary on Vintage, but these two decks are, in my opinion, a little boring, but that's just me. I'm a fair Magic player. Force Negation coming out of Andres on the Oath of Druids, exiling that for Andrew. So he is going to be able, Andres will be able to at least buy the Lurrus this turn, put it into his hand, and the next turn try and get that Bob back on the board and rebuild his hand as quick as possible. I do know the feeling how Andres feels playing against a deck like this from Legacy side, always just kind of holding your breath and waiting for the other shoe to drop with a deck like Oathentail or Sneak and Show, where you're just like, all right, well, they're just one card away from winning here, and there's, what the fuck am I supposed to do? Because like a Show and Tell with an Atraxa is all of a sudden like, oh, well, that sucks kind of thing. And you get to look at the top 10 cards, and it looks like we've got an Oko hitting the board. It's not great for Andres because he'll at least get to play the Lurrus and get the Bob out of the graveyard, but he may not get a trigger on that Bob. Andrew making his Mox into a 3/3 Elk, so he must have other things planned, I suppose. But it looks like we'll see a double fetch from Andres and do exactly what we thought he would do. Play the Lurrus. If it resolves, he'll be able to play the Bob out of his graveyard. And now he at least has a little bit of pressure. Probably poke Oko for 2. He may just go straight to face with Andrew, and he does. Okay, so he is not concerned about that Oko at all. Andrew just 1 land and a Show and Tell away from, there's a Brainstorm, so that's 1 step closer to what he would like to do, I'd imagine. He could also Brainstorm and find an Oath of Druids, and then maybe a land as well. He does have an Atraxa in his hand, finds a Time Walk, an Oath, and an Atraxa, okay. And he does have a land in his hand already, so he's not going to be able to Oath and Time Walk here, but he wouldn't be able to do that if he left the Mox available either. But he can go ahead and fetch, get the Oath into play, and then Andres has basically a turn to figure this out. So Lurrus does get elked as well, and we'll see if Andrew's going to play that Time Walk, or, yeah, he does play the Time Walk instead of the Oath, so he gets to take another turn here. chose not to attack. I guess that's probably smart. There's a flash in his hand. Jeez, he's drawing all the gas. If he wouldn't put that Atraxa back, he also would have the flash Atraxa as well. So Oath of Druids onto the battlefield, resolves. Andres with his arms crossed, looking very happy about what's happening here. He does have an army of Elks, and it's 8. It would only be 8 damage as opposed to, and then there's an Elk still available to be traded. So a Bowmaster wouldn't get there either. So not sure what he draws here. He does have the Saga in hand. Finds the Force Negation 1 turn too late. What are we trying to do here? So we got the Saga, which, again, I think is a little too late to do anything with, especially once that Atraxa comes off of the Oath of Druids. He can just straight up attack for 8 damage. 1 Elk will get blocked. They'll trade. And then the Atraxa comes into play. Atraxa. Yeah, I don't think Andres can really do too much here. So he is going to come over with everything at Andrew's face, putting him down to 2. Potentially down to 2 if he chooses not to block. Fair trade there. A couple $1,000 card for Lurrus. And off to the races we go here with 5 damage to face. And then we'll see an Oath trigger. So Oath. And how many cards are we going to go before we see an Atraxa? So we saw another Oath, Show and Tell. Wow, just 4 down kind of thing. So he only lost an Oath, a Show and Tell, and a Mox Emerald. And then we'll see a trigger from that Atraxa, top 10 cards off the top. And then he'll get to pick what he wants. So Force of Will, Atraxa. He's seen all 4 Atraxas. Land, another Force, an Island, and a Misstep, Show and Tell, and an Oko. All the hits there. So he did hit pretty well. He's getting an instant sorcery creature, land, and a planeswalker. So not a bad hit. So he gets a Force of Will, and he gets a Show and Tell to pitch to the Force of Will. He also has a flash that he could do if he wanted to refill his hand even more. That's a really good hit there. Having played against the Oath and Tell at the Eternal Weekend, and then also against Andrew at this Saturday Vintage event, I can tell you that it is just staggering how efficient and how good the deck really is at just putting big creatures into play. And like Bowmaster doesn't do anything against it. Besajus are okay, but then they Show and Tell with Force backup. Karakas is okay, but they play a Strip Mine and 2 Besajus as well to handle that Karakas. And then post board they bring in Angels. It's a really tough deck to beat. Plus they have the Okos. I've moved away from green-white lands and moved over to 4-color Planeswalkers, which is what I used to play. Much happier there. So it's like we're going to make a food here. And yum yum. We've got tracks. We've got all kinds of fun stuff. So it's really it's Andrew's game to lose and Andres' game to figure out how to win at this point. Because constructs aren't going to get through. Spell Pierce, Force Negation, all that stuff is pretty basic at this point. And unless I don't see a way out of this for Andres. He doesn't play any Planeswalkers that can kill this stuff, and he wraps it up. See in game number 2.
If you've been enjoying our content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below.
Back to game number 2. Both players have kept 7. Andres will be on the play. And now that we've had a chance to look at both deck lists, we can take a peek at their sideboards as well. For Andres, he has a pretty good sideboard against this deck with 2 Containment Priests, 3 additional Source of Plowshares, a Grafdigger's Cage, as well as a Pithing Needle that he can bring in. And he may even want to bring in the Shadow Spear as well. I don't know. But with those what aforementioned cards, the Containment Priest, Source of Plowshares, and Grafdigger's Cage and Pithing Needle, he has a pretty good chance to turn off of whatever Andrew's trying to do here. Now, granted, Andrew does play Besajus in his deck, so he can take out the Pithing Needle, and he probably brings in Force of Vigors as well. Looking over Andrew's side, he has Sarah's Emissaries, Sphinx of the Steel Wind, some Dismembers, Force of Vigors, and potentially bringing in the Portal Phyrexia. I don't think either player really wants to bring in the Null Rods, so that's going to be probably not something we see here. I could potentially see an Abrupt Decay from Andrew's side to maybe take out the Lurrus or something along those lines, but it's going to be a little tougher for Andrew, I think, in game number 2 here, just with the Containment Priest and the Source of Plowshares and all the other sideboard cards we've already mentioned. Andre's off to a pretty good start here, landing a Bowmaster early, turning off any cantrips that Andrew would have, and it looks like he does also have a Pithing Needle as well. He's probably going to name Oko on that. Andrew is debating on letting it resolve. I think he's going to fetch in response while it's still in the stack, and I can't quite make out what that is that he wrote down. Maybe he'll let us know in the comments. There's the Boseiju that we were talking about that Andrew could have. Mana Vault as well, and 4 mana into Force of Vigor. All right, so we'll see a fetch from Andres, potentially a Spell Pierce, maybe the Force Negation. Targets the Needle and the Sapphire. I wonder if Andres wants to fight over that, or he wants to fight over the potential Oath or Oko. So he lets those go. This also explains why he played the Boseiju. We got another Instep. Got a Containment Priest. All right, that's pretty good. That turned off a lot of things. So now he just needs to protect that Containment Priest against an Oko, and he'll be in pretty good shape from this point forward. Fortunately, he did lose that Mox, so he can't hold up Force Negation and buy the Lurrus, but he couldn't do that anyway because he would still only have 5 mana as opposed to 6. So there is our odd even dice that someone was so kind to give me at the Eternal Weekend, and then we had one of our players, Hexamancy, paint it for us. He did the orange and then the black coloring inside the numbers, and then he did a really nice clear coat acrylic on there. So thank you so much to him as well. Does have another Boseiju in his hand as well. I don't think there's anything else he wants to take out. Hitting a Mox with it doesn't really do anything. Pass back over to Andres. Andres in pretty good control of this for the most part. He has a Force Negation and a Brainstorm. And still, I guess he could put the Lurrus in his hand now. Putting the Lurrus in his hand would allow him to play it the following turn and put the Mox back into play. He does have a Force Negation available to... Alright, so we're going to Brainstorm, see what he comes up with off of this. So it looks like another Bowmaster, a Ancestral, and... Bowmaster, Ancestral, and something else I can't quite make out there. Man, hand cams. If you guys want to see hand cams, contribute to the Patreon, and we can get them a lot faster. No idea what that last one is. Anyway. I don't think massaging those is going to get any better for him. And we'll see a swing over for 4, and Andrew's on a 2-turn clock. He's got to figure this out. Got a roll here, and takes 3. All right, he is still on a 2-turn. If he fetches, he is on a 1-turn clock. Does find the Oath. He has a Show and Tell. It does look like he has a Force of Will as well, but potentially no payoff for that. So can't use any Brainstorms or anything like that. Alright, so we've got our Forbidden Orchard in play now. Andres does have the land count already there. So he's got and Andres is holding an Ancestral and a Force of Negation. So we'll see a Hardcast Force Negation here. And it resolves okay. I guess there isn't a Force of Will in Andrew's hand. So an untap here. There is a Bowmaster on top, so he could attack for 4, then just Bowmaster him down. And if it doesn't resolve, he could always just Ancestral Andrew and kill him that way. So He has 2 wins here, so see an attack for 4. Andrew goes down to 1, and then we'll see a Bowmaster. And that should probably do it. Game number 3, both players have kept 7 again, but Andrew will be on the play this time. If he can get an early Oath out, then I think he will be well in control of this game. He does have a Show and Tell as well. He could try and pop that Show and Tell early and just get an Atraxa on the board, which he does have in his hand. He has a Force of Will backup as well. So we got a stew going here. We got a Show and Tell with a Force of Negation from Andres. And Andrew chooses not to fight over that. Okay, it's because he doesn't have 2 pieces. He only has 1. He didn't have a blue card to pitch that Force of Will. I wonder if he should have held back a little bit longer, but I guess that does leave a little bit of time open for Andres to fill his hand up with more stuff, just like that with Ancestral Recall. And we'll see a Force of Will from Andrew pitching the Atraxa now. And we're going to see a Force of Will from Andres pitching another Lauren Revealed. It looks like that Ancestral Recall will resolve. Picks up a Containment Priest. I believe he's hurting on mana, though, because he got rid of both of his Lauren Revealeds, and he was probably counting on one of those to go get another land for him. So all right, Andrew finds another Force of Will, plays his Forbidden Orchard, and it looks like we got some draw go going on here. Another Forbidden Orchard from Andrew, but no payoff. Spell Pierce, and that is it for... Wow, okay. He just drew a Bowl of Citadel. That's kind of tough. Andre's not finding the lands that he wants, but he has plenty of counter magic for anything that Andrew wants to do. So that's not a bad thing. Looks like he's going to go ahead and play that Skull Clamp now that he's got a Force Negation in his hand and not have to rely on that Spell Pierce. Oko has arrived. We'll see if that's going to be played or if he's going to hold it back. Because playing Oko will allow Andres to have 2 creatures, and 2 creatures that he can equip that Skull Clamp to and draw more cards, which is... That's some value right there. And he's just sitting on a grip of forces. So Andrew decides not to do that. Smart move. Andres finds Urza Saga. So we've got some action happening now. That Urza Saga eventually ticks through. He could go pick up a Lotus if he's still hurting on lands. Demonic Tutor on Andrew's side. He could go and try and find an Oath and get this game wrapped up. Not sure if that's going to actually resolve, though. So we'll see a Spirit come into play, and there is the Demonic Tutor. I imagine Andres is probably just going to go ahead and use that Spell Pierce in his hand and counter it. Also, a beautiful beta Demonic Tutor from Andrew. Just always enjoy looking at his decks. They are absolutely gorgeous. So Force of Will coming from Andrew, pitching the Oko. We'll probably see a Force of Negation or Force of Will coming from Andres. It's a Force of Negation. So Force of Negation on the Force of Will, and then the Spell Pierce is going to resolve on the Demonic Tutor. So both of those are countered. So what we were just talking about, where he can equip that Skull Clamp over to the Spirit and draw 2 cards to just refill his hand. He also finds his land finally. So now we're going to see Constructs coming. If any Show and Tell happens, he can Containment Priest in response to it. He does have a Force Negation in his hand and a Bob, but no way to get that Bob into play. And he doesn't have a blue card for the Force. So he have to hardcast the Force as opposed to being able to Containment Priest and hold that up at the same time. Finds another Spell Pierce, it looks like, and one more Construct coming out. Imagine we're going to see the Lotus coming. The Lotus is here. Got an attack for 1, 2, 3. What is that? 5, 6 damage. 5 from the Construct. going to play the Bob. He is going to sack that and potentially... he's going to equip first. Draw 2 cards. Didn't find a land, I don't think. But he is going to play the Bob. So he's got 2 4/4 constructs and a Bob, and he can equip the Skull Clamp to one of the constructs next turn and win from there. So Andrew's going to have to figure out how to wipe this board out, or it is going to be game over for him. It's all or nothing here. All right, 2 spirits go over to Andres. We've got a show and tell on the stack. And it looks like Andres is going to force negation. I'm just wondering what he's going to pitch to it. He's got a force negation, and he'll be pitching the Ponder. So it wasn't a Spell Pierce, it was a Ponder. That was my mistake. Again, hand cams. Oh, maybe he still does have the Spell Pierce in there. Pass back over, and I think that's going to be game. He has more than enough life to, or more than enough damage on the board. Trigger, pick up the... And he finds another artifact as well. So he gets the Tundra, plays the Mox Jet, and plenty of damage coming across at Andrew to win the match. And that'll be it. Thanks for watching.
If you've been enjoying our content, please be sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment below.